Marx's concept of value is a key part of his analysis of capitalism. He defines value as the amount of socially necessary labor time embodied in a commodity. This means that the value of a product, like a coat, is not based on the actual labor of an individual worker, but rather on the average amount of time society deems necessary to produce that commodity under standard conditions. In his work Capital, Marx states that the substance of value is abstract labor, human labor considered independently of its specific concrete form. For example, the value of a coat is not determined by the particular labor of one individual who made it, but by the portion of the total social labor allocated to its production. The magnitude of this value is measured by the socially necessary labor time required to produce it. If it takes an average of 6 hours to make a coat under prevailing production conditions and typical skill levels, then 6 hours is the socially necessary labor time for that coat. We can only determine if the labor spent on making the coat is socially necessary by offering it for exchange in the market. In this exchange, the coat competes with other coats, whether similar or different, made by other producers. This process reveals whether the labor used to make the coat was socially necessary. The specific labor used in making the coat thus becomes abstract labor in the realm of exchange, meaning it's measured against the general standard of labor in society. In a capitalist society where wage labor is the norm, abstract labor becomes the measure of value. This is a significant departure from conventional labor theories of value, which Marx criticizes for failing to ask why labor is expressed in terms of value and why the duration of labor determines the magnitude of the product's value. Classical political economists treated the form of value, the way labor is expressed as exchange value, as something eternal and unrelated to the nature of the commodity itself. Marx argued that this oversight meant classical economists could not understand the transient nature of the bourgeois mode of production. They fell prey to commodity fetishism, which is the mistaken belief that the value of a commodity is inherent rather than a reflection of social relations of production. Marx's theory of value stands out because it emphasizes the social and relational aspect of value in capitalism, setting it apart from the theories of economists like Ricardo. Marx's theory of value is essential for understanding the capitalist production process. Value, according to Marx, is created by labor. The value of a commodity is the amount of socially necessary labor time required to produce it, which is determined by the conditions of production and the average degree of skill and intensity of labor at a given time. This socially necessary labor time is a social average, meaning it is the amount of labor required under typical conditions of production in society. To illustrate, if the average time needed to make a coat is 6 hours, then that is the socially necessary labor time for a coat. The only way to know if the labor used to make a coat is socially necessary is to sell the coat in the market. In the marketplace, the coat faces competition from other coats made by different producers. This process of exchange shows whether the labor spent on the coat was necessary from a social standpoint. In the realm of exchange, specific labors transform into abstract labor. Abstract labor is labor that is stripped of its individual characteristics and measured by a general standard of labor in society. This concept is unique to capitalism, where human labor as wage labor becomes widespread. Marx criticized classical economists by ignoring why labor is expressed as value and why the duration of labor is reflected in the magnitude of commodities value. They fail to understand the form of value, the specific way that labor is expressed as exchange value, which Marx argued is central to the capitalist mode of production. Classical economists viewed the value of commodities as inherent, not recognizing that value is a social relation. This led them to misunderstand the transient nature of capitalism and become ensnared by commodity fetishism, the belief that commodities have value in themselves rather than as a result of social labor. Marx's theory of value, in contrast, reveals the social relations hidden behind the appearance of commodities. He argued that value is not a natural property of things, but a reflection of the labor relations in capitalist society. This insight distinguishes Marx's theory from those of classical political economists and underscores the importance of understanding value as a social construct.